Greenleaf, and we're back with another episode of Body, Mind, Spirit. Today I have nurse practitioner Dani Williamson with us. Thank you so much, Dani.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm excited. This will be fun.
Dani is also the author of Wild and Well. I'm so excited for this book. This just came out not too long ago.
Just came out in November, went up to the top, fantastic, became a bestseller on Amazon, #1 new release for like 8 weeks, crazy in thyroid. It's a fantastic book on my 6 steps to common sense radical healing, wild and well. Everyone wants to live wild and well, don't they?
I think that is great. So what motivated you to write this book?
Well, I have been a family nurse practitioner for 11 years now, and probably 5 or 6 years ago, a patient of mine who's a best-selling New York Times author, he said to me, he said, Dani, you need to write a book. What you do for a living, you need to be able to help millions of people if possible, because it's so practical. And I was like, oh, good Lord, write a book. I talk all the time, but I don't write a book. And he knew a little bit about my past. And so anyway, 2 years ago, I called up Josh Axe, who lives here in Franklin, who's he's been around forever and ever. I said, I want to write a book. And he said, I agree. And I'm going to help you do that with a friend of his who's a ghostwriter. And anyway, I did it. I wrote the book, took me forever. And it's a story of healing. And it's my 6 common sense steps: eat well, sleep well, move well, poop well, de-stress well, and commune well, cultivate community, which is common sense medicine. It's what I do every day. But the entire first part is on childhood trauma, which is something I never addressed in practice until probably 4 or 5 years ago. I grew up in a complete chaotic home, total chaos. My grandfather died by suicide. My mother attempted multiple times. I was molested by one stepfather. I was beat to a bloody pulp my senior year in high school by the second stepfather. All of that led to chronic irritable bowel syndrome, which in turn led into lupus and chronic itching, and then depression. And I saw doctors for 24 years, 10 doctors, before a doctor ever leaned into me 12 years ago and said, Dani, what are you eating? Don't you know your diet controls your disease? What? It changed my entire world and the trajectory of my practice as a nurse practitioner. Because when I figured out what's at the end of your fork will heal you or kill you, 4 colonoscopies, not one gastroenterologist ever said to me, Dani, what are you eating? And they also didn't say, what happened to you? Because you know what, Dani? You weren't born with chronic diarrhea. You weren't born with lupus. You weren't born with anxiety and chronic itching. You turned that on. What happened to you? You were born happy, healthy, and whole. What happened? And it changed my life 11, 12 years ago. And that's why I wrote the book, because I do it one-on-one with patients every day. And I knew that I wanted to let the world know that you're not broken. You weren't born broken. And I am living proof that whatever happened to you before the age of 18 or even after, whatever you've turned on, you can turn off. It's as simple and as complicated as that right there.
Oh my God, Dani, you gave me chills when you're talking about this. It's hard to get patients to understand, though, that I tried bringing that up, and tried to ask them, tell me about your life. And sometimes I find that they're just like, well, who cares about what happened? I'm here now. So how do you explain that to them that, that part is important? All these things add into your whole body, mind, spirit health. So
that's right. It's the allostatic load, right? There's a straw that broke the camel's back at some point. And I just straight up tell them, every single one of my patients get the adverse childhood experience questionnaire now. They didn't for the first 6 years of practice, but they do now. And so I know going into the first visit with them, a bit of what their childhood was like. Do you think my school ever taught me that? No. Did medical school ever teach you that?
No.
Yeah, my son's in med school now, right? He's in DO school. They so far haven't talked to him about that. Maybe they will, but it's key. And then I tell them, and they're like, you know, Dani, I had a girl today, new patient today, who was molested for years with the child the same age as her. So this is interesting, but she talked about it, but she never, ever put it together. And she said, I didn't realize until a few years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, that was childhood trauma, even though it wasn't my own family. It was her friend. And the little girl didn't know either. And she feels like she was probably being molested by her father, which is why she thought that was normal. So all that being said, she said, you know, Dani, I never addressed that trauma. And when I started addressing that in therapy and talk therapy is when I started healing. She already came to me knowing this and already knew, but you're right. People don't look at that, but the body keeps score, Betsy. The body keeps score. There's a reason that book is still a New York Times bestseller pretty much every week. It's been out for decades. The body keeps score of what happens to you. And what I do, dealing with a tremendous amount of autoimmune disease, it's key to know. And you know, I teach patients how to eat well, how to control what they're eating, how to reduce food sensitivities, you know, to address food sensitivities. First thing I do. And people don't understand that gluten, dairy, soy, corn, sugar, eggs, and peanuts are generally not their friend. And so we talk a lot about that. And once we begin to decrease the inflammation, because as you know, and I know, inflammation is the devil. It is the root of 100% of all chronic lifestyle disease we weren't born with, right? Chronic lifestyle disease, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, etc. That is turned on by chronic inflammation. Well, what's creating the inflammation? 90% of the time, it's what's at the end of your fork. And it's not rocket science, it's common sense. And so I walk them through that, you know, we talk about that because patients who come in that are my age, 40, 50, 55, 56 years old, don't have any idea. They have no clue that they should not literally almost poop their pants after they eat. Really? Right? That's not normal. You weren't born with diarrhea. You turn that on.
I feel so much constipation in my
You
body.
bet. You bet. Had a girl today. She said, I still only poop twice a week, Dani. That's not normal. So then we started working on that again. And a lot of women, for sure, clamp down right there in that pelvic area. You know that when there's trauma.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I see that a lot because of, I tell patients that we hold a lot of our trauma in our pelvis, and that a lot of times women will subconsciously tense up and they don't realize it.
That's
and
right.
Then they end up having problems like with constipation or bladder issues or primitive staph or chronic pelvic pain. And a lot of times when they come in, I'm like, okay, you're right. We have to deal with your diet. Let's deal with the physical things that we can do, but we also have to deal with the mind, because if we don't deal with the mind, all the things in the body are not going to work.
Never.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's all connected, and none of us were taught this. Those of us that do this for a living, we had to learn this on our own, you know? And so again, the whole book is about eat well, sleep well. You got to sleep well, because guess what? If you don't sleep, your body heals when you sleep, Betsy, you know that. And if you can't sleep, you're never going to eat well. So we get to work on that. Electromagnetic fields all in the room, right? Lights and cameras and TVs and I mean, probably not cameras in the room, but you know what I mean? All the things that produce electromagnetic fields, right? Sleeping on an electric bed. That's a minefield. People don't get that. Well, I paid $10,000 for that electric bed. Well, it's killing you. So you need to unplug it, set it where you need it, and unplug it. So sleep is huge. Once you can sleep, you're going to eat better and you're going to feel better. And then you got to move, right? So you're not going to exercise or move your body if you're not sleeping well and if you're not eating well. It all works together. And guess what? Your sex drive is better when you exercise. We know that. We have a lot of research on that. Sex is not one of my 6 steps to healing, but it's a huge piece of all of this. Eat well, sleep well, move well, poop well. You're not pooping well, nothing else works. Trust me. De-stress well. Stress is killing us. Look what's happened the last 3 years, going on 3 years. I'm on the board for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and suicide phone calls to suicide crisis lines are up 800% since the pandemic.
Holy.
800. Age 10 to 24 is the fastest growing rate of suicide. But inside that rate, 10 to 13 is the fastest growing rate. So the stress level that our babies and our mamas and our daddies are going through is unparalleled. We have a mental health pandemic on our hands now, and I witness it. And therefore your autoimmune disease, your chronic disease, everything is worse. I mean, the anxiety and the depression that you and I see is off the charts. And de-stressing well, I teach people, you got to automate, eliminate, and delegate everything you can out of your life. AED it out. Everything. Get rid of everything. Order your groceries online, pay your bills online. I mean, you narrow down to you and your little nucleus family. And so we talk all about stress and pouring from empty vessels. We're a nation of empty vessels. Nobody's pouring from a full vessel. When this cup is full right here, when your cup is full, everybody gets the benefit of your overflow. Right? It's not so that you can help be a better mother that you try to rest and recharge. It's because you're worthy to rest and recharge. And when you are rested and recharged, guess what? The entire family is better. We aren't the head of the house, but we set the tone for the entire home.
Oh my gosh. Dani, I am just speechless. I can't wait to hear more of this when we come back from the commercial break.
80% of women will develop a pelvic health condition at some point in their lives. There is relief. There is hope. The Pelvic Floor Store, your resource for personal health.
And we're back with Dani Williamson. Thank you. Oh my God, Dani, before the commercial break, I said it was like mic drop. I'm like, every time we talk, I'm getting chills because you're so like spot on with this information. And, you know, I don't know, I'm obviously very passionate about it. And it kind of frustrating because it's like, you know, when you and I, we have the answers to make people better, and like getting people to listen is tough. My husband says you can lead a horse to water, but you can't wash away the crazy.
Oh, that's exactly right there. And it is so
And I
difficult.
don't mean crazy a mental health issue thing. Let me clarify that. I don't want so, you know.
Well, it's a fact. And you know what I've discovered in the clinic is I don't take insurance, so I'm a direct pay practice. The majority of the people, not everyone, they've got skin in the game, right? Because if you have to pay out of your back left hip pocket, you're generally going to do a little bit more than if you paid a $5 copay. So they tend to be better, but not perfect. None of us are perfect. And I tell people there was only one perfect human, and it's not you and it's not me. But do not throw the baby out with the bathwater if you eat all the gluten and you eat 3 Krispy Kreme donuts out of whatever, some moment of weakness. I can tell you right now, at some season, there won't be enough gluten to make you ever go back to feeling the way you did. I will never go back to the way I felt 12 years ago when I did my first food sensitivity test, when Dr. Kalb asked me those questions. I will never go back to that because I was miserable and itching and hurting and lupus and all the things. I'm not on one pharmaceutical for lupus or depression. I'm on my bioidentical hormones and my low dose naltrexone, and I will die with those in each hand. You can bury me straight up like this with that. But all that being said, as we were talking, eat well, sleep well, move well, poop well, de-stress well. So difficult. Commune well, cultivate community. It's key. It's key. The last 2.5, 3 years of social isolation have destroyed our communities and us. And we are designed to live in community. If you are a believer, if you believe in Jesus, Jesus believed in community. He had 12 people around him that were crazy like us, like just perfect. I mean, perfectly imperfect. How about that? Imperfect humans. And inside his 12, he had a tighter group of people. So People don't realize that, and community is key. When you laugh with your tribe, when you and we're going out of town, in a couple of weeks, when you laugh, your cortisol levels go down, your inflammation goes down when you're laughing with your people, right? Your immune system builds up. We are designed for community. I don't care what it takes, you find community. I'm the one in my tribe who always cultivates community. I just set up April 22nd, I'm having a girls' night here at the house, and it's a charcuterie, dairy-free board. Oh, it could be a disaster, but it's going to be fun. We're going to have a ball. So it's key. And when nobody has all those balls, those 6 steps that I use in my practice ever all at one time, but those are a part of your wellness, right? A lot of people, their physical health is good. Their physical health, metabolically, their thyroid's good, their hormones are pretty good, all of that. That's your physical health. Your wellness is your emotional, physical too, spiritual, mental, sexual, social, economic health. All those balls are your wellness. And that's really what I work on, because the majority of the people are not desperately sick. Now, there's a lot of them that are, but as a rule, they're not. And that wellness is key, man. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have your health and your wellness, it's useless. But it starts by believing that you're not broken. You were never broken. You were born perfectly perfect, the way you should be born. Now, some people are born, and you know this as an OBGYN, some people are born compromised, but the majority of the people are not. We turn that on. And you can turn off anything you turn on. You just have to know that you're strong enough, and you need somebody guiding you. But if you don't have somebody, that's why there are a million books. If you look behind me here, there are a gazillion books on healing your body from the inside out. You just have to pick it up and read it and believe it.
And I always think of like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. Like, that's how our bodies are. We all have the ability to heal. It's in us. And like, yeah, if you're going to your doctor, your practitioner, you're expecting them to heal you. I wish I had a magic wand. I wish I could be like, poof, you're healed, poof, you're healed. But I can't sleep for you. I can't eat healthy for you. I can't find community for you and move well. And so
no, and it's about consistency, because nobody wants to change what they're eating. We eat the same 12 foods or something. The research shows, Quran, I can't remember, he told it's 12 or 15 foods. We eat the same, and we feed our kids the same 5 or 6 meals their entire life. We are about diversity. We are supposed to be diversified with our finances, with our food, with everything. And we do the same thing over and over. We are boring as heck when it comes to this. And, God made all these foods. It's springtime right now. All the foods are coming in, right? Everything's coming in fresh. And we go to the grocery and we buy the same darn thing every single time. We never go buy a daikon radish or a rutabaga or a parsnip or a turnip greens or turnips or artichokes, which I won't ever do that again. I cooked one artichoke in my life. It's the worst thing I ever did. That's the hardest thing I've ever done. I'll pay $20 for somebody to cook my artichoke at a restaurant, but we're designed for all that diversity. And that's when our gut starts to heal, is when we put in all that incredible diversified food. We don't do it.
Bring that up because I've always wondered this. When I see food sensitivity testing of people and things that come back positive, and you look at it and they're like, oh my God, that's stuff I eat all the time. And I've always kind of wondered, though I have no proof, like, do we become sensitive to these foods because of the fact we were meant to eat them all in like little bits, not like eating something every single day for the rest of your life? And then now we develop like an immune response to it.
You bet. And yes, your answer is yes to that. Although I haven't eaten gluten, and I rarely eat dairy, and I don't eat eggs because they're on mine, and cashews, they are still on my food sensitivity 11 years later. And I couldn't tell you the last time I ate gluten. Really. But it's still there. So my body hates those. But the other stuff rotates around. If I've gone crazy on avocados one year, yes. So we are designed for diversity. We are not supposed to eat yogurt. Well, that's hard on you anyway. So how about eggs and bacon every morning for breakfast and a piece of toast? Absolutely not. You should never eat the same thing every day, but we do.
I had to
We
break
do.
the news to somebody just the other day that their food sensitivity came back positive for coffee.
Oh, that has happened to me. That is a horrible one. And grapes are a bad one. The people who drink a lot of wine and they don't put it together that it's grapes. And I say, or that they say grapes. Oh Lord, look, I can't eat grapes. Yeah. Well, that means those 2 cups of Chardonnay or 2 glasses of Chardonnay or whatever you're drinking every night. Yeah, that's wine. And they're like, no. Oh yeah. Oh, they're so mad. But the bottom line is the majority of us weren't born with food sensitivities. Always, all of your listeners that are listening, always go back upstream. Think about, when did you feel the best in your life? Now, I had a traumatic childhood and I don't remember ever feeling like amazing because I had so much emotional and then just abuse going on at home, as millions of people do, but it doesn't negate me. But still, when did you feel the best? When did you feel the best? When did things start going haywire for you and start piling up? Because that's what happens in traditional allopathic medicine. We pile up one condition after another, and we were taught to treat symptoms. Heartburn is real. I know, I lived with it for years, but the Nexium that they prescribed for me to take for my heartburn, they were treating a symptom of something else, which was total chaos at my house and a leaky gut. It wasn't a Nexium deficiency, was it? No, I can answer it now. It was not, or a Melanta deficiency I found. So always go back upstream and go, okay, when did I feel the best? What happened? Let's work backwards, reverse engineer your health. I guarantee you will thank yourself for this and you will never regret it. And you are designed to reverse anything that you've turned on. Nothing is permanent until you've taken your last breath.
That is amazing. You know, that all reminded me too. You see a lot of that with people taking antacids for heartburn, which I didn't know this. Nobody taught me this in medical school. I didn't find this out until a couple of years ago, that you were lowering your acid in your stomach, and our acid in our stomach is protective. It keeps us from getting infections. And now all of a sudden, we throw our guts off. And then we have more gut problems, and then they take more antacids. We're just making a problem.
Yeah,
So,
I know. I had 4 colonoscopies from the age of 20 to 44, endoscopy, barium minimus, put on every stinking GI medicine known to man for chronic diarrhea. And all they had to do was ask a couple of questions. Now, well, again, they could have asked the questions. I might not have paid attention to it. But, so, it takes work on our end and believing that we're worthy to be 150%. And finally saying, I'm putting myself first. As women, we don't do that, but we are worthy to be 150% because, man, when you are 150% and when you walk in that door feeling good, your family feeds off of that. That's where I said, we aren't the head. I am, because I'm a single mom, but technically we set the tone for the whole house. And when we come in irritable, feeling bad, and just blah, 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 the entire family feeds off of that.
yeah.
But when we come in feeling good and on our A game, guess what? The entire family feeds off of that.
My goodness, you just drop in just so much wisdom on us. This has been amazing. Where can people find out more information about you?
DaniWilliamson.com. Sign up for our newsletter. We have a free little swapping list that you'll get when you do. I hardly send out a newsletter, so you're not going to get a lot of mail from me, but everything is on there. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube are all Dani Williamson Wellness. And like I said, I do have a great website. And then the book, you can get the book anywhere. Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, Amazon, private bookstores. Go to your library, ask. That's a whole nother world of books right there. Ask them to bring it to your local library. It's a really good book of common sense, practical medicine guidebook. So we're out there. We have a really active social media presence.
And our season theme for the channel is try. What do you want people to try to do more of?
try to do more of. What do I want people to try to do more of? I want people to,
Try to do.
I want you to try to believe that you are happy, healthy, and whole and not broken, because you're not. None of us are broken. None of us are perfect, but we're not broken. I want you to try to believe what I know about you, that you are not broken and you can turn anything around that you have turned on. You can turn it around and hopefully turn it off.
That is amazing. Thank you so much, Dani. And thank you everybody for listening today. Make sure you go check out Dani Williamson on her social media and her website. When you're there, go also check out wytv7.org, where you can see what we're doing for the community. So when you're there, make sure you press the donate button, because it helps support all of the community events that we're doing and great programming like this today. And also, don't forget to tune in next week for another episode of Body, Mind, Spirit. Thank you so much, Dani.
Thank you, sis.